Why did the body acceptance movement kinda skip over men? Correct me if I'm wrong, but it is generally okay to still shame a man over features he can or cannot control. It is seen in comedy routines or to profile men with unconventional appearances. Even at my mostly leftist school, no one openly opposes this. Why are men seemingly left out of body acceptance? Because the body acceptance movement was created by women for women. There was not a body acceptance movement by men for men. If you want men to be part of the body acceptance movement, you need to get millions of men to take part in it. I really dislike the phrase small dick energy. It's so easily said, and no one seems to understand the implications of it. Nearly every time men ask why there isn't a male equivalent of X part of feminism, it's because men won't do it. If men want a body positivity movement, we have to do it. I will say this one is complicated by the fact that the idea of men being judged on their appearance is very new. Historically, the idea was that men could be physically unattractive but redeemable through other avenues, which was not the case for women. I do see people who are advocates of body acceptance online pushing back against people body shaming anyone, including men, and even men who they personally hate. It didn't. Men skipped over it. Because the movement is led by women, so it includes all body types but focuses primarily on women. If men want representation, they must realize that nobody will save them and do the work themselves. Men aren't valued for how they look, men are valued for what they're able to contribute. Are we just going to ignore all the love dad bod gets online? Because men don't advocate for it. Body acceptance was made for women by women. Women who were fed up with the standards they had and did something about it. I could be wrong, but I genuinely think men don't do the same because their insecurities and body shaming don't affect them as much as it did for women. I'd argue it is still definitely considered okay to make the same jokes about women's bodies and things they can't control. Women are more likely to support each other. If men spent time building each other up without turning it against women, then these kinds of movements might take off. You're wrong. Body shaming really wasn't applied to the same degree to men as women. It's not that it wasn't there or examples can't be presented, but there just isn't a gap as wide to bridge for them. Dad bods are a great example. There isn't as much a reason for men who become fathers to become less idealistically physically fit as women who have kids. But dad bods are celebrated, but women with kids are often asked when they are going to get back in shape. Why is there a movement for Group X but not a similar movement for Group Y? Because Group X got organized and advocated for themselves. They put time in and fought an uphill battle. A lot of the appreciation I see for men's non-conventional bodies comes solely from women. Men don't seem to lift each other up in large enough numbers to be as noticeable. Dad bods online are an example, and tons of women express their appreciation, while a lot of men on social media will go out of their way to comment about how dad bod men should go to the gym, diet, etc. I personally have definitely seen men included in the movement, and there's a push within the movement to include men more. But it's still more focused on women because women are more strongly judged for their appearances than men, and consequently women care more, because it affects them more. They tend to focus on the more pressing issues and the ones that affect them most first, while maintaining the same general principles for everyone. The argument is that men, socially, were never under as much pressure as women from the start. That way more trends and stigma and advertising were focused on women and making them work to improve themselves. While if you had a but ugly dude on the other hand, well, he's a man, well. They didn't skip over it. It's just that most men don't know shit about feminism, so they're unaware feminists, which are mostly women, have been standing up for men's rights too. Lots of men are convinced feminism is about women only, they're ill-informed. The people who think it's okay to shit on a man's appearance are the same people who think it's okay to shit on a woman's appearance. I'm not a professional in whatever field discusses the social side of this, but as a computer scientist who has seen some stats, I think it seems to have skipped over men because 1. Men are the greatest perpetrators of body shaming. 2. Men with alternative motives were Major promoters of the body acceptance movement. 3. And a significant portion of men's body positivity are gay men, who are stigmatized. Who said it isn't or can't be that? The term dad bod exists for a reason, and women love it for a reason. Men just assume it's women's fault they can't get a date. I missed where women stop being harassed. I just had someone say something to me 2 weeks ago. At a food bank of all places. Accept your body and boom, done deal. I haven't been around teens in a while, but I can say that I was bullied relentlessly by other dudes for my appearance. I was tall, thin, pale. That only stopped around my mid-20s when I put on 50 pounds, held my head up and went to therapy. But I'm only one person. If men want a movement, they have to curate it, fight for it. Men need to take the lead on it, but sadly, too many men spend time trying to fight body positivity for women instead of pushing it more for men. Like if you don't look like an MCU hero, that's fine. But it seems too many men want women to feel as bad about their bodies as they do. Women are getting shamed way too often by men and women. Isn't that pretty much exactly what the dad bod thing was? The original roots of the movement had their focus on people who had very visible differences like vitiligo, missing limbs, facial differences, alopecia. Accepting that people are fat was originally a very small component of it. Of course, the internet hyper-focused upon that singular line item and it spiraled out of control. Coupling that with how women tend to face greater scrutiny for their appearance, it morphed into what we see today. The original intent was genderless. And you didn't hear about dad bods? Because expectations on women's appearances have persisted for decades, whereas it's been practically non-existent for men. That's why the push for body acceptance is huge for women, because they have been far more marginalized due to unrealistic standards and misogynistic culture. Body standards are more strictly enforced against women. I'm saying that as a man. It's changing a bit now in the modern era, but ultimately the body positivity movement was never about men to begin with. Because men generally realize that the movement has a lot of negative aspects. Being fat isn't healthy, promoting being fat isn't right. Obviously, I'm in favor of body positivity for things that are either outside of your control like skin color, height, hair, defects, etc., or things that are benign. But the body positivity movement seems to really focus on pushing the idea that fat is both healthy and beautiful. It is neither. They didn't care enough, TBH. Men don't care about their appearance as much as women do. It's probably because the body positive movement is a rebellion against patriarchal beauty standards. I see a lot of guys express anger over the body positive movement, wanting to shame women into insecurity. IDK, the whole dad bod thing seems like body acceptance. Incels are alive in this thread. They cannot wait to blame the left and the women's movement for their woe. Smells like mom's basement. And Cheetos up in here. Woo boy, I can smell these comments. It's changing, slowly. Same reason male sexual assault isn't taken seriously. Toxic masculinity and the failure of society to produce adequate empathy. I don't stand for that shit. More and more people are joining me. Men deserve the same respect, dignity, and support that women get. Mainly because men weren't under as much scrutiny, and the scrutiny women have been under is because of men. It didn't. There was a huge dad bod trend not long ago, wasn't there? Because if you complain, as a man, about not being accepted, you're a whiny pussy. Simple as that. It's wrong, painful, and true. Men are more judged by what they can do or what they have accomplished. Women have been historically judged by their appearances. Neither is okay, but the nature of acceptance is to promote the affirmation of things out of the norm like body types within women, or job capabilities within men.